Lore Together is proud to be part of the Boss Rush Games Network. Feel free to find out more at bossrushgames.com/network. Hi, I'm Safi.
And I'm Mystic.
And this is Lore Together. This is the podcast where husband and wife team go over all the storytelling, world building, and characters of video games because it's what we like to do together. We lore together.
Yep, and this is episode 132.
We made it. We made it to another episode.
Okay.
Woo!
Yes. Before I get into the episode, though, if you'd like to contact us, you can do that in many different ways. Instagram, Blue Sky, Mastodon, Reddit, YouTube, Steam, and Discord down in the description below. Or you can contact us via email at loretogether@gmail.com. All of that information, aside from our email address, is over on loretogether.com as well. If you'd like to support the podcast, there's two ways you can do that. First is giving us 5 stars, thumbs up, whatever it is, wherever you're listening. We appreciate it. The other is through Patreon at patreon.com/loretogether, where you can pay a per episode pledge to get early access to the podcast episodes, exclusive access to some Let's Plays, voting rights for future episodes, voting rights for our public Let's Plays. Mm-hmm. You get a free copy of Safi's latest book,
Mother Revolution, a sci-fi story about a single mom who stumbles upon how hard it is to do the right thing. And there's a lot more in the Patreon as well.
Yes.
And more to come.
Yes.
For sure. Including an audiobook version of Primal Rage, The Avatars, which I still need to read.
Yes, you do.
I want to read the chapters before I read them for Mystic to edit. So
I'm editing. Okay.
I don't understand why you think you're surprised by this. I'm pretty sure we knew this was the deal. But I'm going to be surprised by what we cover today, per usual. So, Mystic, what did you research for this episode?
We are taking a detour from our usual fare. This is a licensed game.
Now, licensed, so that is to say, it is not something that is originally video game content.
Correct.
It is something that is an extension of another fictional universe outside of video game content, which early on, Mystic and I were very hesitant to ever cover anything like that, including even like The Witcher, which had like levels of, well, it was a book first and not really anybody knew it. Then it was a video game, and then it got a really solid niche audience, and then it was a TV show, and then everybody knew about it, or at least that's how it felt.
But then people kept telling us, when are you going to do Baldur's Gate?
Yes.
When are you going to do Planescape Torment?
Yes, that's true.
When are you going to do all these things? And it's like, oh, those are all licensed. We could cover those.
In theory.
And so I've kind of taken it as this: if we cover a licensed project, it must be a unique story in the franchise. Yeah. So we're not going to cover GoldenEye 007 for the N64 because that just basically fleshes out set pieces from the movie to turn them into levels. It doesn't tell a new story. Or
the original Matrix video games, which are very much a comment on those movies.
Right. But I'm not doing it, but something like 007 Nightfire, which is a unique James Bond story, would be applicable if it was. So I'm a James Bond fan. Timothy Dalton's my Bond, but
shots fired. You know, there's so many people angry at you right now.
Whoever your Bond is, they've all been good.
Yeah.
In different ways.
Right.
But I say this with love in my heart that the Bond films are not huge on lore. They are huge on spectacle.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was originally written by Ian Fleming to basically be a more fantastical version of the spy stuff he did.
Right.
Before the Queen's Secret Service was officially established.
So yeah. We will probably never cover James Bond unless they do an amazing story, or if there's, I have not looked into James Bond films, but if there's like a trilogy of stories or something, that may be, but yeah, we're not doing that. We are delving into a large franchise though.
Okay.
And you probably know this either from a novel or a movie.
Uh-oh.
If I tell you the author of the book, you're going to guess this right away. So I will tell you that it is a massive franchise with 5 novels, 7 comic series, 3 short films, an animated series, an upcoming television series, a tabletop role-playing game, this is going to be the kicker possibly, 2 theatrical films, and 3 released video games and 1 in development.
How is this not coming to my mind? I am stumped.
And it is all based off of a classic sci-fi novel.
Oh, shoot.
There is shooting, yes.
Is this Starship Troopers?
No.
Oh, I was so excited. Sorry. I love that movie. But I don't think there was that many things.
This is a classic sci-fi novel written, well, okay, I wouldn't even call it that one a novel. I think it was originally a short fiction, but this was by Philip K. Dick.
Oh my God. Wait, is this Minority Report? Or is
No.
This is, Johnny Mnemonic.
No.
Jeez. How am I... Everybody's screaming at their listening device right now. They're screaming at their phones or their cars being Safi! Why can't you... I don't...
You might know the movie as having Harrison Ford in it.
Oh, God. Blade Runner!
Yes.
No! How did I forget? How did I go to Johnny Mnemonic before Blade Runner?
And so, of those 3 released video games and the one in development, they kind of run the gamut. The first is from 1985, so right after the film comes out.
Right.
And is based off of the soundtrack of the movie because
that slaps, by the way. That soundtrack truly slaps.
Right. But the game is legally based off of the soundtrack because they couldn't get the rights to the film.
Oh.
And it was not well received.
I mean, that's fair.
The most recent release is 2018's Blade Runner Revelations, and was a VR game only for the now defunct Google Daydream service and headset.
Oh, remember when Google thought they could do live streaming of video games?
Well, no, it was the phone headset thing.
Oh, I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
The in-development game is being done by Annapurna Games, which makes its future murky at best, given all the drama that's happening over at Annapurna.
Wait. Can you give me a quick sidebar on that?
Their entire development team left, and it's like one guy.
Oh, jeez. We've been talking a lot in the chat on Discord with our Boss Rush network. We just keep on coming up upon defunct story of these poor developers. One way, and I don't know why they left, probably for understandable reasons, but
so all of that leaves us with the 1997 game developed by Westwood Studios of Command & Conquer fame.
Oh yeah, remember. I was like, I know Westwood.
Yeah, which we will cover. And before we get to covering, there is a good chunk of lore we have to cover about the universe at large.
So we're talking about the universe of Blade Runner.
Yes.
Probably the first thing many people think of when they think of the genre.
I got it. I have a whole rundown.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just really excited.
To explain the basics of the universe specific to the game, because this is a complicated franchise.
That's fair.
World War III has blanketed the Earth with radioactive dust to the point that lead-lined cod pieces are actually sold in catalogs.
I really don't want to live in that future.
Right. That's from the novel, which I loved. But
that is also so Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
And the genre in general.
It also killed off many of the animals on the Earth to the point that people spend a lot of money for real sheep.
Yes.
So, yeah. This war also accelerated the emigration to the new off-world colonies, and with that came the creation of replicants. Humanoid androids that are nearly indistinguishable from biological humans because they are fully biological, made from flesh and bone, but they are programmed and sometimes given false memories, some made to order, and most of the time have a limited lifespan. This does change as the series goes on.
If you have no idea about what the Blade Runner series is about, the next thing that would be similar to that is the Fallout 4 subplot
Yes.
of they didn't call them replicants there. did they?
Synth.
Yeah, they called them synths because they were synthetically, literally, if you saw the process, they're synthetically printed androids that they weren't really as biological, but it's essentially the same premise. You wouldn't be able to tell unless you knew a certain code word or something like that.
Yeah. So the synths in Fallout are more mechanical, as you said. They have if you kill a synth, they have a synth component in them.
Yes.
The replicants are fully biological.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way of telling with any machinery that would, like an X-ray or a scan of some kind. And we'll get to how they test later. Also, almost every person who could afford to emigrate off-world was given a replicant, so this is a problematic thing as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. That's
yes.
No good.
And there's 3 different continuities for Blade Runner. You have the films, the original novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick, and the sequel novel series by K.W. Jeter. And the game blends the continuity of the original movie and the original novel, but tells a unique story that kind of interweaves with the movie.
So this is why we're able to cover licensed content. There is no other way to experience the story.
Yes.
Therefore, it is a video game story.
Androids and replicants are going to be used interchangeably for the most part, but I think I stuck mostly with replicants while writing the script.
I always think of androids as
more mechanical
overall. Yeah.
But the book and the movie change what they are called. They each call them something different at times, and the title of the book is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
Yeah. Yeah, but that's also, so you have to understand with like traditional publishing, which of course was absolutely dominant back then. There was not really a good way to self-publish easily, affordably, and all of that, and disperse well and have it with an ISBN. There was a lot of more gates to get to that point.
That's true.
So the publishers had a lot more power with thinking about what sold well. So you might get a title that technically is not really referencing anything, but someone thought it was catchy.
That's fair.
I don't know if that was true for this, and when Philip K. Dick wrote it, if he even had the power to say, guys, let's just name it this. I know it's weird. So there's probably a story behind it I don't know, but just to give you guys that in mind when you're like, why is this the title of this book? It's like, oh, yeah, marketing. So,
yeah. And replicants are used for many different things, from combat and secretary work to more, let's say, morally dubious purposes.
Oh, I have so many guesses. So many guesses.
There is a whole line that is used for, shall we say, more adult things.
Yikes.
Very much so.
Yikes.
There will be some yikes in this episode.
There's going to be a lot of yikes. There were yikes in the original Blade Runner movie. Unfortunately, Harrison Ford constantly played male characters that, at the time was like seen as like dashing and confident. And then you see some of the stuff he does in a modern context. And you're like, oh, that's not, you should have asked permission first, Mr. Ford.
Yeah. Now, it should be said, replicants are not allowed on Earth after a particularly bloody rebellion by replicants in an off-world colony. So there's a whole separate area of the police force that hunts down replicants. These divisions are called Rep Detect, though more often called Blade Runners.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find out where that came from. It's never actually referenced in the original book.
No, and there's no real explanation in the movie, if I remember correctly, too. I have to rewatch it, but yeah.
But this is mostly done, at least in the initial part of an investigation, by giving suspects the Voight-Kampff test, which is spelled differently here than in the movie, but it's spelled like the book, so...
Makes sense.
Yeah. Which proposes hypothetical scenarios and gauging the suspect's responses with galvanic skin response, pupillary contraction, blushing, like blood flow in the thing.
It sounds like the replicant version of a lie detector test.
Yes, and the questions are definitely inspirations for Fallout's GOAT test and the Elder Scrolls immigration test in Morrowind.
Oh, wow. Wait, so what are some of the questions?
I don't remember, but it's very much in the vein of what you would get in the GOAT of, here is a hypothetical situation, what do you do? You know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this test is thought to be accurate because replicants, apparently by the nature of their creation, are lacking in empathy and are therefore sociopathic. In the game, we play as Ray McCoy, a rookie in the Blade Runner squad in the LAPD. He's new to the squad and lives in his apartment alone with his dog Maggie, who might be real or might be an android. We don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's never quite confirmed. He claims that she's real, I think, but it's also one of those things that people lie about. Like,
oh, okay.
He's got some friends in the LAPD, and Crystal Steele, what a name. Crystal Steele, another Blade Runner, is his rival. They kind of see who can close cases the fastest. Mm-hmm. There's also some sexual tension there with some terrible lines from Ray at the beginning, but it doesn't seem ill-received, so I'm just going to let that go. It may just be their thing.
Ugh. Yeah, we forget also that a lot of this kind of writing was perpetuated until the last, 10 years, mm-hmm. which is part of the precipice for the current backlash, because there's a lot of people who were taught that this kind of behavior was okay, who now are not able to do the hard work of introspection and realizing, oh, what I was raised with was wrong.
Yeah, it has been almost 30 years since this came out.
So I do want to say, I'm going to probably say a lot of things are ick or disgusting or honestly should not have been written that way. But we do have to understand that 30 years ago, to that lens, it wouldn't have been as obvious because we weren't talking about it as much.
Right. And just to warn you of some things now, first, there are a lot of names as we're following case threads from lead to lead. Mm-hmm. Secondly, there is a lot of death, some brutal scenes, some exploitation, and some animals dying in this game. So listener discretion is advised from this point.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people turned off because of the animals, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Blade Runner is not a happy franchise.
It is not a happy franchise. Should we talk about the genre of story that it is? We haven't.
Oh, it is definitely cyberpunk.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of people consider the thing that Mystic said he was going to cover, but we still haven't touched upon yet, is that Blade Runner is considered to a lot of people, the pinnacle of what cyberpunk is. Cyberpunk was very much of the era of thinking about kind of like a dystopian oligarchical society. Mm-hmm. In the 80s in particular, for those in science fiction who were critical of the greed machine that was getting really popular then, but was operating with a lot more subtlety than the greed machines we see today. A future where they have succeeded and people have become used to a diminished sense of humanity within a capitalist system. Mm-hmm. It also, unfortunately, and I always like to point this out because as much as I love the cyberpunk genre, it comes with a little bit of baggage in the American and other more Western focused approaches to it. There was a little bit of Orientalism and the fear that Japan in particular would overtake our culture. And that is fraught, but it also kind of inspired some really cool designs and some fusion of cultures that was inspired and cool. It just unfortunately came with the veneer of a fear of the Orient, which is problematic at large.
Yeah, and do androids dream of electric sheep? Blade Runner, is right there with Neuromancer. So inspirational. And Cyberpunk, obviously, for gamers, definitely.
The tabletop RPG Cyberpunk came out, what was that, in the 80s, right? Yeah, and took the name of what was happening and just made it into something playable. And it was gritty and messy and bleak with bright neon highlights in the middle of it. It's a fantastic setting overall, and what Mike Pondsmith has done to kind of revitalize and continue the vision of what cyberpunk is forward, very inspirational overall. Yeah.
McCoy has been given an assignment by his boss, Lieutenant Edison Gouza. He is to head down to Runsiter's live animals and investigate an animal murder. There, Runsiter states that 2 men attacked him, killing all of the animals in his shop. Runsford informs McCoy that 2 men had been responsible, but he believes that his employee, Lucy Devlin, who is 14, which 14-year-olds tend to not have jobs, but okay.
Well, again, remember, we're in bleak capitalist society where child welfare is not prioritized.
That's fair. But he believes that she has been involved in some way. While examining the evidence, including a maddening pixel hunt on video evidence, literally, when I played this back in the 90s, trying to find the pixel of showing that Lucy was indeed present during this took us days.
Yikes.
Because we didn't click on that one little spot.
Oh, man.
I should note, this game does do some interesting things with each playthrough. 5 characters are randomly determined each playthrough to be human or replicant.
Wow. Okay.
Lucy is one such character. There are a few others. I'll mention them as we meet them. Mm-hmm. Problem here is, if Lucy is a replicant, she is, according to an in-game brochure, a Lolita model.
Oh, that's so gross.
Yes.
Oh, if you don't know what that means, ask your parents. No.
Yeah. Since we've established that replicants are bioengineered and might even have false memories and lives, this is just as problematic as if she was a human, because at least 2 NPCs in this game are therefore ephebophiles, which is a new word I learned from the TV trope site while researching this game.
We're not going to go into any more detail because we are here to be family friendly, but just know that is not it's not a good thing to be an act on, very specifically.
The ick factor is a bit high.
The ick is really high.
Luckily, there is no actual assault, just creepy hitting on as far as I can remember.
Oh, wait, by the character you're playing?
No, we'll get there.
Oh, man. Yuck. All right, I'm just... So much cringe, guys. So much cringe.
With a receipt leading him to the White Dragon restaurant, which is in the film also, and in the game, Ray confronts Zubin, who is working as a chef. Basically, he found 2 guys through the video, Clovis and Zubin. He finds Zubin working at the White Dragon. After being shown a photo of Lucy, Zubin insists he doesn't know her, saying, "Nope, I know and who I don't know, and I don't know her." To solidify his innocence, he pushes over a huge pot of soup all over McCoy and runs.
That's some pretty solid innocence that he solidified right there.
If McCoy manages to catch up to him, McCoy is ambushed by Zubin when he drops down to attack McCoy at a nearby warehouse gate. If McCoy is too slow to catch up, Zubin waits for him at home.
Oh,
apparently he knows where McCoy lives.
Oh, that's creepy.
Without an opportunity to perform a void conf test on Zubin, McCoy either kills or spares him, player choice. If he is spared, though, Lucy will leave a message from McCoy on his vid phone thanking him.
Oh, interesting.
The next day, McCoy is called to investigate the murder of a Tyrell employee, Marcus Eisenduhler.
What a name! Yeah. Eisenduhler
is a fairly large man who spent most of his time in an artificial gravity test lab because it helped deal with his excessive weight.
I suddenly have visions of the book version of Dune and the guy who has the floating belt. Yes, yeah. The Baron. Of course, the Baron. I know what his name is. Jeez.
And McCoy finds him dead, killed with, and I forgot this when I first played it, killed with explosives.
Whoa!
And his 3 little dogs all shot.
Not the dogs?
Yeah.
What kind of monster? Look, killing people's obviously bad. But little puppies? Why are we killing the puppies?
I don't remember. I think they're Chihuahuas, but I don't remember for sure.
Look, I understand they're annoying, but they didn't deserve this.
Investigating further, he finds a dragonfly earring, a Kingston kitchen takeout container, and a dog collar at the scene. Luckily, that collar helps out, as the name of the collar, Ricky, R-I-K-K-I, is the password to Eisenduhler's computer, and through that, McCoy is able to access data on replicant DNA sequences and inception dates.
Hasn't he heard about a passphrase instead of like 5-letter pass? It's so funny, the things when you think about back then. They're like, oh yeah, we'll make the password something easy like Ricky. And now, 30 years later, you're like, who's the idiot who made this short password?
Right. From security footage, he finds an image of the perpetrator who had delivered the Kingston Kitchen's food.
Oh.
So after being granted a meeting with Eldon Tyrell, he is first greeted by his assistant, Rachel. Both these characters are prominent in the film.
Yeah.
And
I just, random note, the name Eldon is also an old, like, Anglo-Saxon name, if I remember correctly. So it's interesting that they're choosing this old world name for such a futuristic setting.
Yeah. And this is where we start to get the idea that the game takes place around the movie. Because this is after Harrison Ford's character Deckard has met Rachel and Tyrell, but before Rachel leaves.
Ooh.
So, playing vague here. I mean, if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. When he asks them why the suspect might have been interested in the replicant DNA information, McCoy is eventually drawn to the conclusion that the killer is a replicant seeking a way to extend his own lifespan. This is a point of some contention for this era of replicants. According to the film, there is a hard limit on replicant lifespan. Like, that is literally the point of the film.
That these replicants are about to expire, right?
Yes.
And that's and are refusing to return themselves, so that essentially, I forget exactly why, but they need to return before they expire. Yeah. And they instead are trying to live out the end of their days with a lot of freedom. Yeah.
However, here and in a few other sources, some replicants have been shown to have extended their lives. Now, by the time of the Nexus 9, so in the game and in the movie, I think it's Nexus 6, 7s, and 8s. Mm-hmm. But by the time of the Nexus 9, they can have very long lives. Either way, McCoy warns Tyrell that the replicants will be coming for him like they did with Eisenduller.
Ah.
McCoy next makes his way to Animoid Row, which is where basically a ton of shops that make animal androids.
Animoid, what a word. That doesn't, ooh.
Taking the dragonfly earring to a booth, the woman could provide no answers, but told McCoy she would ask a friend about it and he should return later. Later on, while investigating the Kingston Kitchen's container, McCoy goes to the restaurant and asks the owner, Isabella, if she recognizes the suspect. She denies that he works for the restaurant and also tells Ray that Eisenduller had not been sent any deliveries for over a month. He had been cut off after failing to pay off his tab. Exploring the area more, McCoy ventures into Hawker's Circle, where he meets Izzo, a former member of the Citizens Against Replicant Slavery group and a proprietor of the Green Pawn. Izzo is another of those characters that might be human or might be replicant.
Okay. Could be Izzo.
Izzo? Yeah, that's what I said.
Izzo. That's a very uncommon name. I like that. I like that there's a little bit of diversity in these names. Like a little bit. Not too crazy, but yeah.
McCoy asks him about the dragonfly jewelry, but again receives no answer. Once McCoy asks Izzo about his dismissal from the Citizens Against Replicant Slavery group due to supposed
cars.
Yeah, due to
Citizens Against Cars.
He was basically kicked out due to violent tendencies. Izzo grows very agitated as McCoy continues questioning him and pulls out a camera, using the flash to blind McCoy and make an escape, which is clever.
Okay.
Better than
fair.
Soup. To a degree.
Soup. Yeah, no, Soup doesn't really... It just keeps slippery.
Yeah.
It does not solidify your innocence being that wet.
McCoy picks up the camera and chases Izzo through the sewer where he uncovers a cache of weapons. The pursuit then leads back out onto the street where fellow Blade Runner Crystal Steel either retires, in quotes, or arrests Izzo in connection to the bombing of a Tyrell manufacturing plant. So Blade Runners don't kill replicants, they retire them because the replicants aren't human.
The dehumanization process, which is very necessary when you are going to... Let's be honest, be killing a living thing. It's something that we know must happen in warfare for warfare to be successful, which is a horrible thing to have to think about, but it's true.
Yeah. With no leads, McCoy decides to go to DNA Row, where Tyrell subcontractors work, believing that they may have also been targeted by the replicants. Upon visiting the lab, McCoy hears from eyeball designer Hannibal Chu that DNA designer Miraji had missed their most recent dinner meetup.
I like that there is an eyeball and a DNA designer. This is hilarious. So is the DNA designer specifically working with the DNA of replicants that are created? Okay.
McCoy decides to investigate Miraji's lab only to find the missing DNA tech handcuffed with a bomb nearing its detonation.
Da da da.
McCoy frees Miraji and they run from the building as the bomb explodes. Unfortunately, Miraji is mortally wounded in shrapnel, like happens.
Yeah.
But is able to tell McCoy that 2 men came demanding DNA information, one of them with a description matching the Eisenduhler murder suspect.
Oh.
Miraji also asks McCoy to warn the twins, Luther and Lance, before succumbing to his wounds. Tracking down their address, McCoy finds the twins absent from their apartment, but does find an envelope from Runsiter containing hundreds of Chinyan, which is currency,
Yeah.
as well as an answering machine message from Tyrell Corporation geneticist J.F. Sebastian, who is also from the movie.
Okay.
McCoy went to Sebastian's apartment, but found he was not there. In the lab, he found more replicant DNA material, ventured up to the roof where he was ambushed and beaten by Sadiq, the Eisenduhler murder suspect. Sadiq is one of those characters who might also be a replicant or a human.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Sadiq and an accomplice named Clovis, who we talked about before, take McCoy hostage at an apartment in the Yukon Hotel, urging him to rejoin his family. This, of course, implies McCoy might be a replicant. If you're all familiar with the franchise, this is a common thing of people not knowing if they are or are not replicants.
Yes, another thing that Fallout 4 kind of, I don't want to say stole the premise from, but also uses a premise for this kind of like origin story.
Yeah. They leave McCoy alone, and he eventually falls asleep because...
You just gotta sleep on that.
Eventually your body will just make you.
You gotta sleep on that one, actually.
And he dreams of chasing Lucy through an off-world colony.
Oh.
When he finally wakes back up, he sees Lucy is with him and assures her that he will not harm her. She kisses him on his cheek and runs off, leaving him tied up. Managing to finally free himself, he searches the apartment, finding a token for Hysteria Hall, which is kind of a bit like an entertainment complex or a mall.
That makes sense.
As well as some contraband cheese.
Contraband cheese?
Yes. And a photo of Clovis with a moon bus, which is an off-world transport.
Okay, I'm still on the contraband cheese. Is this the kind of cheese that has, maggots in it? Helping it ferment or anything like that? Give it that nutty flavor?
I think it's just where you're going to find real cheese where there's no animals.
But there are people with sheep, so I guess there was somebody who was, making cheese out of sheep's milk.
Yeah. I don't know why it's contraband. I don't know that information off the top of my head.
Okay, all right.
McCoy finally exits the apartment to find the desk clerk being hassled by a man named Leon Kowalski about policemen entering his apartment and taking his photographs with them.
Kowalski, I feel like, is the safe Polish name that we hear so much in so many movies and media. It's how many times have I heard Kowalski compared to all the, being from Chicago, all the other Polish names I've heard.
This is where we're weaving through the movie again. Mm-hmm. So... Leon is referencing Deckard going through his things. So Deckard is running around chasing his replicants while we're here chasing our replicants. It's kind of a cool thing. Yeah. And many of the characters that appear in both the movie and the games are played by the same actors, even though this came out over a decade later.
That's so cool, though. You could do that with video games. Easily.
Yeah. I mean, there are likenesses, too, but most of those are CG'd. So.
Right.
McCoy asks Leon if he's ever seen Sadiq or Clovis, but Leon doesn't know anything. Inspecting Leon's apartment, McCoy finds a Blade Runner badge.
Oh.
That's referencing the movie. And a strange iridescent scale. Outside of the Yukon Hotel, he found a car resembling the one photographed at Runsiter's crime scene. Inside, he finds a wrapper for Mia and Murray's lichen dog stand, which sounds kind of gross to me, but when you have no animals to use for meat, I guess you make do.
The what kind of stand?
Lichen dog.
Lichen dog?
Like hot dogs made of lichen?
Yeah, I can see that. In this world, that's a thing.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd eat it. I would try that.
I'll try it. I don't know if I'd like it. At the precinct, McCoy confirms that the car is in fact the same one seen out of Runsiter's, and that there's two different registrations as well as a fake third one, but he tracks it down to a woman named Dektora, Dektora.
I've never heard. Is that a real Dektora?
I don't know. Dektora is another one of those characters that we mentioned that might be human or might be replicant.
Oh, okay.
Upon using the Esper machine to examine the Moonbus photo, he finds Sadiq in the picture as well as a strange reflective material and himself faintly standing in the background.
Oh, yep. There it is.
In the photo, snapped by Isa, McCoy finds Dektora walking in the background. and can also see Deckard, like,
yes,
stealing or something.
Continuing on that thread as well. Oh my gosh.
In another photo on the camera, he finds Clovis and a security camera at the China bar. Heading to the bar, McCoy gets the camera's data disk from the barkeep. After examining it, he finds Isa with his camera and Lieutenant Guza speaking to a policeman.
Huh.
At this point, McCoy could head to find Sebastian, that Tyrell geneticist we missed before, and his apartment and question him with topics pertaining to all of this. However, Sebastian eventually realizes McCoy is a Blade Runner and refuses to talk.
Yeah, okay.
McCoy then travels to Hysteria Hall. There we check around a few places, but when McCoy asks at the Lycan Dog stand, Mia and Murray confirm that the Lycan Dog wrapper is from their stand. Luckily, they also happen to recognize Lucy from when they saw her leave the nearby arcade fairly recently. When he shows them the contraband cheese he found, he learns that Isabella at Kingston Kitchen is likely responsible for it, as she was known to brag about a, quote, secret ingredient.
Uh-oh.
Which, I could see contraband cheese being a pretty good secret ingredient.
Mm-hmm.
At the arcade, McCoy finds Lucy playing a game, and when he asks about Clovis, the man she calls father, she says she doesn't know where he is. If he asks about Runserter, though, she says that the animals were real, and that Zubin accompanied Clovis in the animal murder.
Oh, wow.
McCoy might also warn her about Crystal Steele, the other Blade Runner who's in the area and investigating stuff, allowing Lucy to run away. Alternatively, he could attempt to perform the Voight-Kampff test on her, which will find her running into the Hall of Mirrors. If McCoy follows, he has the opportunity to retire her.
Oh, man.
Yeah. The end conditions for this game are a mess. So
there's a lot. I mean, I'm glad that choice matters, but oof.
McCoy confronts Isabella about the contraband cheese, learning that Gordo Frizz stole a food container in which Isabella had hidden the cheese.
What a name. Gordo Fizz?
Frizz.
Gordo Frizz. That sounds like a Roald Dahl character. Mr. Gordo Frizz was known to be... I could just hear it now. Yeah. Sorry.
He finds Frizz, who's a comedian, and the last of the characters, who might be human or replicant, at a bar called the Snake Pit.
Okay.
When McCoy asks him about the cheese, Frizz brushes him off and goes to perform his stand-up comedy routine. He kind of puts McCoy on the spot, joking about the Blade Runner unit, and then runs from the club. McCoy pursues, which ends in Frizz's arrest, death, or escape.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, McCoy finally gets an answer on the Dragonfly earrings. They were part of a set purchased for a nightclub. All right.
Okay.
Arriving at Nightclub Row, because everything has like groups of buildings that are...
Yes, everything has a specific neighborhood to market in.
McCoy goes into Early Q's nightclub. Early Q, yes, that is his name. Early Q does not recognize Lucy's photo and insists that the set of Dragonfly jewelry was only used by a single performer. When the club's bouncer is distracted watching a dancer named Hecuba, McCoy sneaks into the office.
Hecuba?
Yeah.
Isn't that the name of like a witch in a Shakespeare play? Hecuba? Or am I getting that confused with Hecate? Sorry.
I don't know. Inside, he finds a receipt for the jewelry collection.
Hecuba is the name of the witch, I think, in not the Scarlet Letter. No. The play. Sorry, Hecuba. I know that's actually from... I'm sorry. There is an Arthur Miller play whose name I am totally forgetting, where Hecuba is a witch reference because it's based on the Salem witch trials. Sorry, Hecuba. That's how I know the name Hecuba. Sorry. Mystic is completely confounded.
Inside the office, he finds a receipt for the jewelry collection. He also finds an incriminating data disk behind a painting. I could not remember nor find out what was incriminating about the data disk. I just don't remember, and I couldn't find it. There's a bunch of different things that can happen when you find this, though, including McCoy just dying from a poisoned drink.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
that's bizarre.
It's not important. Also, I don't want to give away the solutions to things as clearly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not important what happens to Early Q. What is important is we find out through all of this that the dancer is not named Hecuba. That's just a stage name. It's really Dectora.
Ah, fair. Yeah. interesting that she chose the name Hecuba. I just realized that the name of the place, the Crucible. But Hecuba, the name of a witch related to the Salem witch trials. Wasn't that also referenced in a game that we Mystic is like, I don't remember. Okay, fans of the series, if you remember what episode that is, feel free to put in whatever comments that you are able to comment in.
McCoy goes to Dectora's dressing room to ask her about Early Q and her dragonfly belt. After revealing himself as a policeman, he asks her about the sedan, which she claims to have been stolen soon after she bought it. Weirdly, shortly thereafter, an all-points bulletin is put out for McCoy, suspected of killing Izo.
Whoa. Okay.
As McCoy was not responsible for Izo's death, and luckily it's Steele who finds him, Steele believes him and allows him to escape while she attempts to sort this all out.
Thanks, Steele.
Yeah.
Good to know ya.
Utilizing a sewer route, McCoy travels to his apartment and encounters a thug waiting for him. Heading back into the sewers again, he encounters Lucy and performs the void contest on her. This is, of course, if he had not previously killed her.
Yes. Okay, fair.
He then ventured further into the sewers and encounters a transient who insists that replicants, as well as Guza, Luther, and Lance, had passed through. He noted that the replicants and Guza seemingly were stockpiling weapons in the sewer. Guza, keep in mind, is McCoy's boss.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yikes.
Further into the sewers, he finds Luther and Lance working in a lab, seemingly expecting his arrival. The pair had set up the lab to safely continue their research into extending replicant lifespans, believing themselves to be replicant mistakes. At this point, we finally find out how much of a dirty cop Guza actually is, and that he is working with the replicants to cover up his own indiscretions, and he's also the one who killed Izo.
Oh, wow.
So McCoy has been set up by Guza, and the twins offer to help him in exchange for Tyrell's replicant DNA data. If McCoy retrieves the data for them, the twins trade him files detailing Guza's acts of corruption. If McCoy wishes to subject them to a void comp test, they refuse, and he has the opportunity to kill them. It's one of those things of, you're refusing, you must be a replicant. Like, I don't quite buy that, but...
That's definitely very convenient logic, right?
Yeah. If he got Guza's file from the twins, McCoy contacts Guza via vidphone and demand his name cleared. Unable to discuss arrangements over the phone, Guza agrees to meet with McCoy in the sewers, because that's where everyone else is right now, apparently.
It's a happening spot, man. It's right near the nightlife district.
McCoy learns that Guza had long had suspicions of him being a replicant due to claims made by Clovis.
Oh.
Yeah, there's this whole thread that if McCoy is a replicant, Guza's the one who wiped his memory of it.
I can see that.
Yeah, either McCoy then kills Guza or allows him to be killed by Sadiq. No matter what, Guza dies. So
interesting.
Then we get the complicated end game for this game, because there's a huge amount of variables at play. Who's a replicant and who McCoy has sided with via his retirings or letting people escape and all that. And yeah, I kind of skipped over one point. There gets to a point in this game where you can selectively upload your data to the central computer instead of all of it.
Oh.
So you can kind of pick and choose how things go sometimes. So yeah, there's a total of 12 endings I found listed, but they all fall into a few main categories.
Okay.
Ray retires all the replicants. This has two variations where Crystal either lives and they become partners and friends with benefits, apparently.
Oh.
Or Crystal dies in a trap, leaving Ray all on his own as a full Blade Runner.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Second group is Ray is a replicant and leaves the city with his love interest, either Lucy, Ick, or Dectora. Now, a note on that, actually. Some people have said that the game never has Ray actually act like he's interested in Lucy romantically. She's clearly interested in him.
But he's not interested in her. So you mean Ray McCoy. I'm sorry, because you said McCoy, and now you're calling him Ray again. Sorry.
And I don't remember, but it's clearly a way you can interpret it that he is just trying to protect her because she is 14.
Yeah, it could be more of a father-daughter thing. Yeah,
it has been over 22 years since I played this one through to completion, but I could see that interpretation. But it is an interpretation.
Yeah, and it's, I hate to say that, but considering if replicant,
no, like you're allegedly your slant on morality is different.
It's still bad.
It's
still bad, guys. Don't.
Yeah, I will
if
use.
If you're not a teenager, don't date a teenager. That's a really easy rule.
Yeah, but instead of saying lover, like this person who wrote up the endings did, because I was not going to watch all the endings, I will use companion for the rest of these in case this interpretation is accurate.
Okay. We're just gonna breathe through this.
Yep.
Breathe through this.
No matter what, if we are fleeing the city, we are forced to kill Crystal. However, our companion doesn't always survive.
Oh no. Okay.
There is an odd ending where Ray is a replicant but continues to kill the other replicants.
There can only be one.
But is then forced to kill Crystal after she comes out as a replicant sympathizer.
What? How did we get? Where did that come from?
Yeah, or at least that's his claim when he kills her. It's a weird one.
Oh, jeez.
That one you get a awesome job from like the higher up. Mm-hmm. I forget what his name is, Gruff, I think, or Guff or something. But yeah, there's this higher up above your boss that gives you a kudos for that one. Then we have the endings where Replicant Ray leaves the planet with the other replicants on the moon bus with or without a companion. Now, that all sounds like a lot, but remember that the 1982 movie had like 6 different versions, which all have differences between how many, like major differences, like how many replicants are living in the film at the beginning.
Right. Or just the dream sequence stuff in particular gets edited a lot.
How certain characters die. How the film ends changes.
You know, and it's one of the few ones where the director's cut is not an agonizing slog, right?
Right.
There is a lot more context and depth added with that cut. It's just...
But there are 6 different versions of this film.
Yes.
So the game having 12 different endings is...
is on par is what we're saying. This is what we should expect.
So yeah, that's Blade Runner. Now I didn't even mention the gameplay for this game.
What is it?
It is kind of like point and click, but there's also real-time fighting.
Oh, I'm gonna hate this.
You're gonna hate this.
I'm gonna hate this so much. Why is everything has a cool story in a format I hate? No.
On the plus side, we will be playing the remaster that came out a few years ago.
Oh, okay, cool.
So we won't be playing the original 97 one.
Oh, that's nice.
Even though some people don't like the remaster, we need the subtitles. So
we'll need the subtitles. Are we doing voice acting? Or
no.
Is it okay, great. Awesome. Cool. So, but we need to be able to know what people are saying.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to play it and see what it looks like. I am not excited to fail at I'm not going to be able to do the fighting part, am I?
I don't think you'll have to during our 1 hour time. So
I hope not. So for those of you who are listening, thanks for joining us. And if you want to watch the live stream of this first hour of gameplay we're going to try out, it will be releasing live the Thursday after this episode is out to the public on our YouTube. And it will be at 9 p.m. CST on that Thursday. I forget which date that exactly is. And then every other Thursday, the Thursdays when we're not doing the first hour of the game we covered, we're doing Mass Effect 2, which Mystic found out some really interesting stuff that we're going to share in the next live stream episode. Yep. So even if you don't catch it live with us the Thursday before this episode comes out, feel free to watch it because I
don't think it's new and unique, and we're gonna blow.
We're not gonna blow the lid up. It's in an article.
I didn't know this, and I've been playing the game for.
And there's so many things that it's just a very interesting take. So it's very interesting information that has made me have some very interesting takes on what happened during that development and my opinions. So with that though, thanks again for listening. Oh my gosh.
Thanks for listening.
We will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.